The version of the Air Jordan 10 that MJ hated, absolutely hated, and made them change it mid-production.
I don't like it. Painted red.
Is back for the first time as a retro. Ain't this some Hey, what's going on, guys? My name's Chris. Welcome back to the official WearTesters.com YouTube channel. And today, we've got a detailed look and breakdown on these bad boys right here. This is the Air Jordan 10 in the original steel colorway, in the original way that they first released, with this weird toe cap right here. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about it. But before we do, if you were interested in supporting the channel outside of just the typical YouTube space, you can go support our latest merch collab with Serious Player Only, where we have re-released some of the best socks in the game. Not only that, but they're available now in some brand new colorways, such as this amazing white and red and this really awesome black and pink. And then we have a restock on some of our more popular ones, like the white and black, as well as the black and red. We've even got a crew cut option for those of you guys that like a slightly higher cut. And then there are two performance shirts available right now that simply state testing in progress, something that we do on the court all the time. If you're interested, there's going to be a link down below in the description box, or you can simply head over to SeriousPlayerOnly.com, where they are available now exclusively. Now, as far as these are concerned, they are very, very interesting. I will say that, just because, you know, having a shoe that MJ quite literally disliked to the point to where he was like, no, stop production, switch those things up, take off the toe. They basically had to re-release the shoe without the toe caps. It's like a really interesting story. The box itself is very cool and very interesting. This is actually not the box that the original shoe came in, so that's like an odd thing. Mostly because when they do stuff like this, they are telling a through line story from start to finish, and this tells part of the story, but not the whole thing. So if this box looks familiar to you, it's because this is what the original retro run of Air Jordans released in back when the Air Jordan 10 originally released way back in 1994. So what had happened was MJ decided abruptly to retire from the game of basketball.
My God, why?
Those of us that know MJ's history and his past, we kind of know already like what that's about, but basically he lost his father and he decided, like, this, I'm gonna go do something that I was originally really passionate about, which is playing baseball. So with that, Tinker and Nike thought that the Air Jordan 10 was gonna be the last of the line.
You serious?
Hence the bottom of the shoe with all of the accolades mentioned. And Nike was so confident that Jordan was not going to be coming back from retirement that they told Tinker literally, do not design another pair of Jordans, like this is going to be the definitive last one. Obviously he didn't listen. He decided to design the Air Jordan 11, and the rest is history. The whole I'm back thing with the facts and all of that stuff. The number 45, which we've gotten a release of, the Air Jordan 10 Chicago with the 45 PE branding. So yeah, this whole time frame is just very interesting from Jordan Brand. So while this shoe released in the original Air Jordan 10 box, which is a very skinny version of what we see with the current retros, like the Air Jordan 7, 8, 9, and the other 10s as well. The other 10s come in that box too. So it's interesting that this box is different. But during this time, they decided that not only are they going to release the last shoe, quote unquote, but they were also going to pay tribute to the original years. So we got 1994/1995 retros of the Air Jordan 1, 2, and 3. And it was those shoes that came in this box, not the Air Jordan 10. So this box lid obviously pays homage to Jordan's history, at least up until that time, all the way through. You can't really see it, but the Air Jordan 9 is kind of poking through right over there.
It wraps around.
Oh, does it? Oh, it does. My bad. I was looking at the Jordan 1 here too, so that's, my bad. I'm tired. Now, this is not a one-for-one recreation of that original box. This is a very good replica of that original box. So all of these pictures that you see of the Air Jordans are of the retros, whereas the original box featured all of the original run products, because, you know, back at that time frame, there weren't any retros, despite them being retroed for the first time. And they actually were not well received either. The 1994 and 1995 retros of the 1, 2s, and 3s all went to clearance, and I'm talking about like steep clearance, all the way down to like $19.99.
Holy forking shirt.
Yeah, believe it. So yeah, I think that this is really cool. They switched up a lot of the pictures and things like that, but they got the original flavor going, you know what I mean? And then on the middle section of the box, it says Air Jordan 1985 to 2025. So again, clearly not the exact original version of this box lid, but it's very close. Not only that, it's a really well-made tribute to that era. Now, as for the shoes themselves, these are very interesting, like I was saying, because they have this toe cap that MJ disliked when the original Air Jordan 10 first released in 1994. They released in 2 original colorways with this toe. It was this pair right here, as well as the shadows. I don't know how many shadows made it out into the atmosphere, basically, like with customers. I know that there are East Bay magazines with the shoe in hand, but I have not seen a lot of those like actual shoes out in the wild. Whereas I have seen this version of the shoe, like the originals with the toe cap before. But again, MJ didn't like the toe cap. This is where the whole like him preferring clean toes comes into play, where he made them switch this up mid-production. They removed the toe cap pieces, not just from this shoe, but from the shadows as well. They re-released both colorways, and that's the primary version of the shoe that most of us know and love. Obviously, they released more colorways down the line, like the Chicagos and the City Pack, none of which featured the toe cap, but that's basically the history behind this particular colorway, as well as the shadows. It'll be interesting to see if those actually do come out as well, like the one with the toe, or the toe cap. And if I were a betting man, which I'm not, but if I were, I'd say that they would do it. Although it depends on how well these sell, but I'm pretty sure that they do it. If they're doing these, they're gonna do those. Now, there are a couple of things that I noticed that don't quite line up with the original. One of which is actually the lining. I think that it's kind of weird. When I look at original pictures, it's like the checker pattern is reversed. It looks like there's more black than there is gray on the originals, whereas these look heavily gray instead of black. I don't know if it's just my eyes playing tricks on me, but it's what I see. The other thing that's really interesting, and we've talked about this with certain re-releases of the Jordan 10 retros before, but when you look at the back heels, they actually face, or the logos face each other, which is weird. But it wasn't weird back then, although it kind of was. Let me explain. Much like a lot of past Air Jordan models, they released, or manufactured, I should say, these shoes in multiple factories. So the ones that these are based off of are made, or were originally made in Korea. The logos faced each other, whereas there was another run made in Taiwan where the logos actually faced left. And I believe that those are the ones that have re-released, where they both face like a different way. Or I could be misremembering. I can't actually remember right now because they've released so many Jordans. So, you know what I mean? Like I'm trying so hard to remember all of this, but man, is it difficult. But anyways, the original 10s, again, were made in 2 different factories, so there are 2 different versions out there, and that's not uncommon, by the way. So that was very much true for the Air Jordan 1s, shoes like the Air Jordan 11s, and so on. Why were they made at multiple different factories? That's something that I've actually never asked anyone over at the brand. I'm not sure if anybody that is currently there has been there long enough to actually know the real answer. So if I were to assume, or just to make a guess, it would be either it was a cost-cutting thing, but I doubt that since they did it quite often. So I believe that the main reason was just to kind of keep the manufacturing cycle alive and thriving smoothly, I should say. Because back then, when something sold out, it would literally restock. Instead of today, where they're manufacturing so many shoes and so many colorways, that when they say restock, it's not an actual restock, it's part of the original stock. They just hold some of that original stock back because they're making so much of it.
Give 'em the old razzle-dazzle, razzle-dazzle 'em.
But back in the day, they would manufacture, produce, distribute. It would get to retailers, it would literally sell through, and then they'd be like, oh, don't worry, in November, we're getting more, because they were literally making more, which is not the case today. What they make is in one giant batch, and that's it. That's not for all shoes, by the way. So like when we're talking about something like, say, the Panda Dunks, where those literally restock all the time, it's because they are literally in production all the time right now because they're so popular, despite everybody hating them. Outside of that though, these look awesome, at least for what they are. So the outsole, like I was saying, features the traditional Air Jordan 10 outsole. It's got all of the accolades on there and it looks great. It's got the steel gray accents and everything. Also, the UNC blue Jumpman was something very different back then and I absolutely love it. Not every Air Jordan 10 steel retro has had the blue accent. Some of them have had red, but this is the way that the originals looked. Ooh. Typically, I would go through like how many times the steels actually did re-release, but because this is the weird version with the toe cap, this is quite literally the only time that they've re-released besides 1994. So this is a first time retro, guys. It's kind of weird. Now the midsole on these guys, I believe was the first time that the Jordan line used Phylon. You could still find wearable original versions of the Air Jordan 10. The glues probably need to be replaced or like redone, but the midsoles don't crumble because they're not polyurethane. So yeah, these guys have Phylon. It's very comfortable, and on top of that, or I should say embedded within that, is a full-length air sole unit. Now, while this is not the exact unit that is featured within this shoe, this is essentially what it looks like inside underneath the Strobel. Sitting on top of that is this white Dream Cell insole, and on top of that is actually the original sock liner, which is awesome. Now the materials on these guys, like most Air Jordan 10s, is very nice. It's going to be very comfortable, not very breathable, but super comfortable to wear, especially once they break in. The leather on here is not half bad. I wouldn't call it premium by any means, but it's very nice nonetheless. I would say that it's very much in line with past Air Jordan 10 releases. So if you've gotten previous Air Jordan 10s and you've liked the leather, you'll with these. Another piece of detail that they've actually paid attention to is right behind the tongue, and that is the tongue tag itself. It's not the, I wouldn't call it like a traditional patch, but when we're talking about retro Air Jordan 10s, there's usually like an Air Jordan 10 style patch right back here. That is not on this version of the shoe. Instead, they've reverted back to the original way of the size label. So it's stitched on there. It's not hot melted like that plastic that's fused in. So yeah, I really like this. I think it's cool. They do feature the speed lace system. It's a little bit different than what was introduced on the previous model, which was the Air Jordan 9. That speed lace system was all plastic and everything, and it really was like a really cool speed lace system. This one is nylon, so sometimes the laces will like get caught or like tug a little bit on there, so it's not quite as speedy, but it is still a speed lace system. There's also bungees going all the way up and down the tongue area of the shoe. It makes for a very snug fit, at least from the top of the foot. This is something that was actually really popular back then, although the bungees back in that time frame on the majority of the shoes they were featured in were like really fat bungees, so like the Barclays and things like that, up tempos and so on. These ones were really thin. They like matched the design or the nylon cables that were there. Now in terms of sizing, I personally went down half a size. I felt like they fit a little bit long, so I went down half a size. They fit me perfectly 1-to-1. I would say that if you are a narrow or normal footer, you may want to consider doing that. If you're a wide footer, I would go true to size and they should fit you perfectly. And if you're interested in grabbing a pair and you happen to be local here to the Sacramento or Elk Grove area, make sure that you hit up Phenom. Not only are they going to be carrying these at both their Elk Grove and Doco locations, but they also got a really awesome sale right now. It's like their kind of like end of summer sale, so you can buy one shoe, get one for $45. If you're local here, you got to go check it out. And if you aren't already, make sure that you follow them over at Instagram, simply at Phenom Global. That's where all of the updates for all this cool shit happens. Now, with all of that being said, what do we have for today's user submitted question of the day?
Today's question is in response to our New Balance Absorb 2000 review. You mentioned the Nike Shocks. In your opinion, is that the best example of too much marketing attached to less than quality tech, like Nike putting those on Vince Carter and hoping that would distract everyone from how crappy the tech was?
The funny thing is, I think that was genius marketing. Back then, you couldn't tell nobody that sucked. There's still people to this day that swear by Shocks. I swear to God. It's one of those things where the marketing for that product was so perfect and it fit the athlete so perfectly that it didn't matter. You could, like I said, you couldn't tell nobody nothing, dude. Like, they will swear up and down that them things made them jump higher. I don't think that was bad marketing. I think that is exactly what marketing is for. You know what I mean? It's to push or sell product and the Shocks do suck, I gotta say. Like, they're polyurethane columns. Like, think about that. This is Phylon. Phylon at this point in time was some next level. It didn't break down. It was lighter in weight. It lasted a lot longer, all that stuff. You know what I mean? Compared to polyurethane and all that. And this is in 1994. They gave this guy and us as consumers a reason to buy polyurethane shock columns. And we loved it. I swear, you can't get better marketing than that. But what about you guys? Sound off below and let us know what you think about the Shocks marketing. Do you think it was flawless like I do? Or do you think it was a failed execution and just marketed poor product to not savvy customers? It's a mix of both, but like still flawless. And on top of that, let us know what you think about the Air Jordan 10 Steel returning for the first time in its true original form with the up toe cap that MJ hated. But yeah, sound off below. Let us know. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. I hope that you guys had a good time and maybe learned a couple of things. And with that being said, I'll catch you all on the next one. So until then, you guys have a good one. We're gonna go. There it is. God damn it. Mother.
Welcome back.
Mm-hmm. You're gonna put all that in there?
That's gonna be our outro.
No, man, come on, dude. I'm tired. My body's hurting. Played basketball hella times in the past like 4 days.